we're gonna go. Okay, we're all ready? I want to call to order this May 14th, 2024 meeting of the Marshall County Board of Zoning Appeals. First item of business is a roll call of the members.
Mr. Bennett?
Here.
Mr. Hostetler?
Here.
Mr. Kephart? Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Gustafson?
Here. Next item is a review of the April 9th meeting.
I've read, I didn't see any problems. I move we approve as submitted.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Minutes are approved. Okay, first case, 24 BZA 17, Stephen and Patricia Davis. Are you here? Stephen, do you see him? No?
I'd recommend tabling to the end of the meeting.
Yeah.
We'll table this till
I'll
the
make
end.
a,
You make a motion? Go
I'll
ahead.
make a motion to table this till the end of the meeting.
Do I have a second? Motion made second to table it to the end of the meeting. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. We'll table that to the end of the meeting. Okay, the second case, 24 BZA 18, Ivan Mast. Come on up. You can sit in those two seats there, and if you state your name and addresses for the record, please.
Ivan Mass, address is 6134 Chestnut Road, Bremen.
And you, ma'am?
Anna Mass, 6134 Chestnut Road, Bremen.
Okay, thank you. Ty?
All right, the applicant is seeking to reduce the side yard setback from 15 foot to 5 foot. As you can see, here's a quick site plan of the property and a rough drawing of where the proposed structure would be located in relationship to everything. Same structure here. And some pictures from the property. The procedure for this is the Board of Zoning Appeals reviews and makes the final decision on this case based upon the findings of fact as defined in state statute. For the analysis, the applicant is seeking to reduce the side yard setback from 15 foot to 5 foot in order to construct a 40 by 60 barn for storage and horses. The setback is desired because it will allow for it to be placed further away from the house and better utilize the acreage that I have as in more pasture for animals. The Mass property is 1.5 acres and is surrounded by agricultural fields owned by a separate entity. Here is the site plan as provided. North being up, west being where the road is located. For findings of fact, we take into consideration the public health, safety, and welfare, use and value, and strict application. For finding number 1, the approval should not be injurious to the public health, safety, and general welfare. For finding number 2, the use and value of adjacent property should not be substantially impacted. And for finding number 3, the strict application of the ordinance would not permit the proposal and is entirely self-imposed. For recommendation based on the information provided and reviewed by the Technical Review Committee, staff, and TRC would recommend denial of the proposed setback reduction and is now up for board determination.
Anything you'd like to add?
Pardon?
Anything you'd like to add?
I don't think so.
So you can't come 10 more feet? It's gonna make that much difference?
I can, I guess. That 15-foot strip is, I really can't do anything except mow it, and I guess I can do that.
Okay. Anybody else got any questions?
I move we open public hearing.
Do I have a second? Second. Motion made and seconded to open public hearing. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Public hearing is now open. Anybody here to speak in favor of his request? Anybody here to speak against? Any correspondence?
Yes, sir. I have one letter to Marshall County Zoning Board. Mr. Mass bought this property several months ago. It is a 1.5 acre lot with only a house, no outbuildings. He has added 2 yard barns and a portable shelter with fence for a horse. I see no reason for the setback reduction to 5 foot. I don't feel the neighbor's rights of a building being 5 foot from the property line should be violated because of the choices Mr. Mass has made in laying out his property and the size of property he has purchased. He has room to build with the setback of 15 as required. He just doesn't want to. Please uphold the required 15-foot setback. Thank you, Jeff Unsticker, 6246 Cedar Road, Bremen, Indiana.
Is that the
That is it.
neighboring property by chance? Do you know?
Give me a second and I'll tell you who the owner of the adjacent property is.
Do you know who that is?
I heard the name. I know he's somewhere in the neighborhood. I'm not exactly sure which farm it is.
It's not the farm
I
ground
don't
around
think
you?
it's the land around me, I don't think.
It's not?
I don't-
You don't
Not
know?
the adjacent one.
I couldn't hear you.
Not the adjacent, like the.
It's not the
Not the
adjacent.
one that's touching my property.
Okay, that's all I was curious about, Ty, you know. Well, hold on a second, see, it'll take them up. Do you have it?
Not yet.
No.
I'm slacking. I usually have it all called up.
He doesn't believe it is the neighboring property.
The owner of the ground around him is Joanne Young and Alan and Jill Young
Okay, so it's not.
off of Dogwood.
So the people send it in, where's their place? Roughly.
6246.
They obviously got a letter, so you have to be near.
Would think. I didn't see anything close when I looked at it on GIS, but
Doesn't look like it either. Wish he had a better reason for being close.
Confusing.
it's not real
Chestnut.
important, so
Don't worry
we'll
about
just
it.
move on.
Oh,
That,
the
Is that-
owner's one road east
Oh, okay,
from Chestnut to Cedar.
okay. But they were notified, that's why they,
Correct.
okay. Any other correspondence?
No, sir.
Have a
Just the
motion to
one.
close?
motion to close.
Have a second?
Second.
I have a motion to close the public hearing. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Public hearing is now closed. Got any reason at all to give us that you want to have it farther away than you just don't want it that close? Not really?
Not more than what I stated on the
Okay.
variance application.
I don't like changing.
Yeah, I mean, looks like there's, 10 feet's not going to make or break.
I'd make a motion to deny the request.
I'll second that.
Motion made, seconded to deny the request. Lori?
Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Hostetler?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Gustafson?
Yes. Sorry.
Thanks for your time.
Okay. Okay, third case, 24 BZA 19, Javier Figueroa. Come on up. You would have a seat and state your name and address for the record.
Javier Figueroa, 3953 Michigan Road, Plymouth.
Ty?
Alrighty, the applicant is seeking to permit the residential use of a duplex and approval of an additional residence and a garage. Here you can see the duplex on the left-hand side and the garage towards the, what would be west, but towards the top end of the picture there. A few pictures from the property itself. The procedure for this is the Board of Zoning Appeals reviews and makes the final decision on this case based upon the findings of fact as defined in state statute. For the analysis, the applicant is seeking to permit the single-family structure to be used as a duplex and to upfit the garage to be used as an additional living structure. The original house was added onto the property in order to provide space for the owner's father to live with him. There were no issues with the home addition, but at some point, the wall of connection was filled in and created two separate units. The A3 Agricultural Residential District does not permit duplexes. The owner has since upfitted the garage for his son to live in, and based on a violation being turned into the Planning Commission, the applicant is coming before the Board of Zoning Appeals to seek approval of the duplex and the additional third living quarters. For the findings of fact, we consider the public health, safety, and welfare, use and value, strict application, unnecessary hardship, and comprehensive plan. For finding number one, the approval will have proportional impact based on the density of adjoining properties and may be mitigated provided that utilities, specifically sewage, are properly addressed and designed. Finding number two, the use and value of adjacent property may be impacted because the underlying zoning district was not intended for multiple residential units on a singular property or to exceed a given residential density. For finding number three, the owner has indicated that that the special circumstances that the father and son do not want to share the same living space. For finding number four, the strict application of the ordinance would not permit the proposal. And finding number five, the comprehensive plan designates the area as agricultural land use, which is intended for some residential development. Development should be served by individual well and septic. For recommendation based on the information provided and reviewed by the Technical Review Committee, staff and TRC would recommend denial of the proposal. It is now up for board determination.
Okay, explain what's going on.
Okay, so I
You're
used
the
to live
father.
there.
You're the father.
Huh?
Are you the father?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I lived there with my family, and then I'm going through divorce. So I figure I rent out that big place. And then the garage has always been like a caveman. So the only thing I put in is a bathroom. So I usually stay there with my son. But my son usually is the one that stays there the most. And
So you live in the house.
I used to.
What are you doing
You
anymore?
live in the garage.
Now I live in the garage.
The son lives in the house.
No, in the garage.
Who lives in the house?
I got some attendants.
You have a tenant, you rent the house?
Yeah.
Oh,
And you've got the house divided into two.
Yeah.
So you're renting the 2 units out in the house and you're living in the garage with the
Yeah.
son. But you didn't want to live with the son, is what it said.
No, I never,
Oh.
we don't have a problem because we
I
don't,
we read on there that.
yeah, I heard that, but I don't know. That might have been a mistaken or something.
okay.
So there would be three dwelling units. The
Yeah.
house is split in
Yeah.
the garage.
Well, back in 2009, my parents got really sick and they live in Texas. And that's how I add on the addition to it. But they told me that I had to get a bigger septic, so I spent $20,000 on the septic, and they allowed me to, I was there with my parents for a long time. My parents passed
You
away.
did spend 20,000 on the septic, you said?
Yeah.
To do that?
So, my parents passed away, and I'm going through divorce, so I figure that's why I end up renting it, because it's a big place.
Did you think to ask if you could have
Sure.
multiple units on there before you did it?
Yeah, I should have, but I,
Well, who told you you had to improve the septic?
Hold on, you want to sit up here?
Yeah.
Okay, you sit up here, you state your name and address for the record.
Benjamin Oviedo, 800 Lake Avenue, Plymouth, Indiana.
Okay, so are you related? or-
Yes, we're cousins. He's just not explaining himself like he should be. He was actually given permission to put the other home there so his parents could stay in one home and he could stay in the other home.
When was this?
2009.
That's why he had the bigger septic tank installed so the septic tank would be able to
Okay, hold on just a
act for both
second.
homes.
That,
Did he
come in and get a permit to do any of this?
The permit was from a home addition, not an additional home.
Okay.
Well,
One
considering it's a-
residence, not 2 residences.
Considering it's a double wide that is just put right next to the other home, I don't think that would be considered
Hold on.
an addition.
We don't allow 2 separate living spaces on the same parcel, correct?
Correct.
Unless you get a variance to do it.
Oh.
And the only time that this board has done it is if it's a short-term deal with, it's parents that are, and when they're
Health
gone,
issue,
then
yeah.
but it's not to be rented
Yeah.
out to someone else. So go ahead.
Well, that's my understanding, because he put a double wide there. It's actually a totally different home. That way you could be able to watch over his parents.
So
That's
you
what I
think you
understand. So
got,
he had 2 homes there. Technically, it's 2 homes.
See if it
I
was,
guess the wording must have been something, when he got the permit, or pulled the permit, the wording must have been wrong or something. But his intentions from the beginning was eventually, when his parents passed away, he'd go ahead and leave them separate. Because you're talking about somewhere around the lines of an 8-bedroom house. You know what I mean? That's why he also had the septic tank built that big. It's magnificent size for a single-family dwelling.
if the family all lives together, that in a double, what makes a duplex if the one family lives there, is that, what makes a duplex a duplex?
A duplex is 2 separate units.
As separate meters for electric, gas?
So you can think about it like a common duplex you would find in town. You have a common firewall in between the 2 structures.
This does?
It was originally a single house. If we bounce back. So there used to be a house where the circle drive was, that was removed, and the main portion of the house, the L shape, was there. When he brought his father up, he did a modular home addition, which is what comes towards Michigan Road,
The front piece?
the front piece, because you can't put
Vice
together a double-wide trailer.
It's vice versa.
those Yeah, the
The
double
front,
wide is in the
the
back.
front one towards Michigan Street was the original housing.
Okay.
The one in the back, that extension towards the back, is the double wide addition.
Then
So
you
if the
did
house
it-
was sitting like this and towards the back, that's where the double wide was put in. But
Then there was an addition of a carport and a wood carport. That's what juts out from the modular home.
yeah, that's an extension to the modular home itself.
But I got all those permits taken care of.
And he was just under the misinterpretation, because he actually got, so for him to actually put the double wide on the property, he already had a home there. And he put double wide right here, so he'd be within close residence, because his father was really sick, he was dying. So he'd be in really close residence, but his initial plans were eventually to use this as it is. That's why he immediately got a building permit, he got a bigger septic tank to accommodate for both
You
dwellings.
would have to get a bigger septic tank.
Yeah, I know, but that,
Even if you were just, this was looked at as
Oh.
an addition to the house.
oh, okay, that's where the
There was
misunderstanding.
miscommunication at some
Yeah,
point
that's where the
in time.
miscommunication, the
It was given
misunderstanding
a
took
building
place.
permit to make this an addition to the house, and that would generate a need for an
Yeah.
increased septic tank too, because they usually go off counts of basements. And while it may have been your intent to rent it out as a separate unit, I wasn't there, but I'm going to say the building inspector, whoever issued the permit, that was maybe not clear to them, because if it was, he should have said, to do that, you will have to come before this board to get permission to
Yeah.
have more than
But-
one dwelling unit.
But from off conversations in the past, if he would have known that, he would have put the double wide further, he has 7 acres there almost. He would have put the double wide further down the road, you know what I mean? He wouldn't have put it right up next to the house. If he would have been aware of that, he wouldn't have gotten a huge septic tank for this dwelling, you know what I mean? He would have built 2 septic tanks that are smaller and gotten the variance to subdivide and partialize the property. He would have,
This isn't part of it at all, correct? This section
No.
up here, that's not part of it at all.
No, that's where he's wanting to stay, in that
Well, then
garage.
what
That's
is-
where they
that's where
stay
his
in the
man
garage.
cave's at.
The front 2 houses, they rent out to somebody else.
So this garage and also has an addition on that garage then too?
That
No,
might be
that's like a
another
carport.
rental.
The garage is already on the property. That whole garage is on the property. From prior,
So it's, even the L part of the garage is,
that was on the property. That was his man cave.
Yeah, that's always been there.
That's his garage. Actually has garage door on there, and he just added on a restroom to the man cave, hooked up to the
Did he
septic
get a
tank.
permit to add that?
To the garage? The garage
Did he
is
get a
already,
permit to put the bathroom in the man
Garage.
cave?
no, I don't think he did you?
No, I didn't.
There probably wasn't permits to do a lot of the stuff. If I want to guess on it, wouldn't you say, but, okay, is there anything else you want to add?
No, I was just trying to clarify that's why, because you make take it to your configuration, if you were to go ahead and spend $20,000 on a septic tank, you know what I mean? And if you would have known prior, this is all misunderstanding.
I find it hard to believe that you went in there and told them what you were doing, and they would give you the permits to do it. Now, this was before the time that I've been on here since, what, 12? So it was before I was on here, and I don't, so. Ralph would have been here then? Wow. What's your recommendation on doing this, fixing this? I mean, how,
So, I'm gonna spin this real quick.
I mean, if we turn it down, what is he gonna have to do? Have to kick the renters out, and then they'll have to live in the house, or he'll have to take the wall out and make it a non?
It would have to be a single-family residence, which is what it's taxed as. It's a one-family dwelling. According to the notes under the property record card in 2013, a modular addition was 100% completed for 3/1/10 per 3/2/10.
Is there any way that if we table this, that you can go back and go through everything that they've done since they've owned it to see what they've actually got permits for, what they've done on their own?
We can go
How do they
back and we
turn
can
in?
pull the
By neighbor or what?
by neighbor, yes.
Okay. And then you go look to the right, and we've got a trailer court
Yeah,
that has multiple houses on there.
yeah, several, like 50. And like, not even, he's only asking for permit for
See,
that
the way-
small space.
We-
They got tons down through there.
We get this a few days, so we get to look at this at home. And what it says to us is that you both lived in the house and you didn't get along, so one of you moved to the garage, okay? Now, when we get here, we find out you both live in the garage and you rent 2 units out that, you know, that aren't legal to do. So,
So is there any
You
way?
don't actually live there, you're a cousin.
Yes, correct.
well, I
Yes,
said you,
but I
him
understand
and
where
his
you're
son.
coming from,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
But you could also, he's trying to correct this, you know, I mean, he's at the mercy of you guys, you know what I mean? He's trying to correct this, he's willing to jump through any hoops that you guys put down, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Try to make this
Okay.
right, you know what I mean?
That's- if
There's
that's-
nothing else he can do now, you know what I mean? He's in a,
He'll have to get the renters out, he moves in the house, and his son lives in the other part of the house, and that would be all set. How will that work?
it'd be unfortunate, because it'd be,
That would be the right way to do
8
it.
bedrooms for 2 people.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
That'd be,
that's-
you know what I mean, that wouldn't be cost effective for,
That's the rules of the zoning, I mean.
yeah, because there any
we
way
can't
that the
have-
zoning could be changed?
We've only, since I've been on here, we've only allowed one property that had 2 separate houses, and that was down there in Culver, east of town. Remember Chris Klein was on here? And we had 40 acres, and there was 2 houses, and we didn't make them separate. That's the only time I can remember us okaying 2 structures.
Just as a reference point, actually, I checked the parcel next door, the trailer park. In September of last year, the zoning was changed from A3 to a planned unit development.
So next door is a planned unit development anyway. That's a different thought process now too,
Right.
completely. Oh,
Can you lend any light to that? Do you remember that
To the
case?
PUD?
Yeah, that's what it says. That's-
Correct. Correct. It was rezoned to permit essentially the redevelopment of a gated community for shipping container homes is what it's going towards in a modern architectural style.
I remember this.
They're still working on finishing out the architectural drawings and documents in order to complete their application for like the second phase of approvals.
What did comp plan say about that in this area? Do you know?
Off the top of my head, I do not know.
And technically, that owner of that property goes clear around this property. He's to the left and to the right of this property. If you're looking.
So it's zoned to the left and right?
Yep, where that trailer park is zoned to the left and right of this property.
Correct, because the septic system is the
Let's go ahead and
intersection of property.
open the public hearing,
Yeah.
and let's hear what everybody else, the neighbors
So
have. It
moved.
looks like the neighbors are ready to talk, so at least
I
hear
make a
what.
motion to open public hearing.
Second.
Motion made second, to open public hearing. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Public hearing is now open. Anybody here to speak in favor of his request? In favor? Anybody speak against? Come on up to this table. Have a seat. State your name and address for the record, please.
Hi there, I'm Connie Nichols, 3983 Michigan
You can sit if you'd
Road,
like.
Plymouth.
State your address again, please.
3983 Michigan Road.
Where's that from this place? Just
It is right
Just to-
directly to the
the south,
south.
next door? Okay,
Yes.
okay.
I have lived there since 98. I was here when he requested a house be built further beyond the lot, or his current house, because his sick father was going to live in the front house so he could build there. That was shot down. They said, no, you cannot have 2 residences. Well, if his sick father was ever on that property, and I've been there since 98, I never saw him set foot on that property. It was all a lie. There was never any sick family residence there. The whole entire time, he wanted to make those rentals. Those have been rentals way back from that time. There have been renters in and out of there constantly. And then he did that other addition onto it, made it a duplex. Now there's 2 renters in there. His son has been living in that thing for I don't know how many years.
The garage thing?
Yeah, the garage, yeah, it's a pole barn. It's not even a garage, it's a pole barn.
Okay.
His son has been living in there for I don't know how long, long time, but I've composed an entire pamphlet here for you guys on the condition of this property, how unkept, they're always burning trash and plastic and everything else. There's no trash service provided. There are multiple vehicles. Did you pass around the pamphlet I provided?
I did not yet, no.
There's like multiple vehicles like jammed in there everywhere. There's trash all along the property line. They can't even take care of what they got, and this isn't even zoned for 3 families, and there's 3 families living in there. And, you know, I did a lot of like research on the septic and all that other stuff, and yes, he did put in a large septic area, but it was all for rental properties. He had no intentions of having family there. That's all a lie.
I'm gonna, we'll get, when this hearing's over, we'll talk to you. We're probably gonna table this, wouldn't you say?
I just would, while she's sitting here, I wanted to
Go
ask her
ahead.
one question. Early in your presentation, you had said you were here.
I was here back
So-
in
So
2009.
2009, you came to us.
Yes.
They had a zoning.
Yes, we had a zoning meeting and they shot it down and said, no, you cannot do that.
Okay,
And they did not give him permission to do this.
okay. Can you get that to Ty somehow?
Get what?
He has
Have
the zoning right there.
You have, he has exactly what you have?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Well, I put a lot of this in there that, you know, pertinent, but I mean, it's just, there's no respect to the property, there's no respect.
It
to the
looks
ne-
decent
Oh,
from the frontal
and then-
picture of it, but the
Aerial picture, yeah.
the overhead, that
The traffic coming in and out of there is just constant. I mean, those renters are coming and going and coming. And now that we have the PUD, Thomas Landgrebe, who owns the property to the north of this, has been working on cleaning that dump up that used to be the Davis Trailer Court. He got it passed to do a PUD to put these units in there, and I've actually seen the plans for the units. They're going to be very nice and well kept. They're going to be high-end units, and he's not going to put in a ton of them. He's only going to put like the bare minimum of units because he doesn't want to build it out. He wants a private community so the residents can enjoy like a small neighborhood. He's not planning on doing any extension of it. And then one of the reasons why that was shot down for the house back on the hill, they're like, oh, well, we have a field behind our house. And they said, well, a house could go back there. No, it can't, because that's a septic for that used to be trailer court, which is now the PUD. So nobody can ever build behind us or anything. These neighborhoods were not designed for multifamilies.
okay,
That's why we have the zoning.
okay. Is there anything else?
Tranquility and peace, you know, country living. Not smelling trash burning.
Okay. Glad you came.
Okay,
Anything else?
Thank you, though.
no, that's about it.
All right.
Oh, hey, Mr. Miller.
Anybody else to speak against? Any correspondence?
We do have the paper that she was able to provide. I'll read you the letter, then I'll pass out the pamphlet so you guys can thumb through it. Lori's currently going upstairs to obtain some documents that you guys were talking about earlier.
Do you think this would be a good one to table so we could get all the information in here?
It's entirely up to the board. So
You wanna
I'll
read that
read
now, or
this, and then you guys can
Pardon me?
go from there.
Yeah, I'd like to hear.
Go ahead.
So 24 BZA 19, Figueroa Javier. There are currently 3 residences on this property. The main house has 2 separate families, and then the pole barn has Javier's son living there and has been for several years. We installed a fence so we didn't have to look at their unkept property and to help keep their dogs out of the yard. The main concerns are no trash services provided for those families, and they are often burning all their trash on site, including plastics. Yards are often unkept with little to no maintenance. The new fence will soon rust if weeds and grass are not kept cleared from the metal. Lack of concern for environmental welfare or neighbors. 3 families on a single residence property opens the door for other neighbors to add more residences. Marshall County septic requirements based on a single residence was installed. Section 6 prohibits items B, existing sewage disposal systems are not grandfathered if they violate state codes. Section 7, general requirements, item P, before a change in use, the owner or operator of the on-site septic system or OSS shall notify the department of the proposed changes and provide information and data the department deems necessary to determine if the system will need to be modified or changed to meet the new demands being placed upon it. This often occurs with a change to the structure, industrial process, or infringement on OSS isolation distances. And then item T is as follows. Residential on-site sewage systems under state code can include 2-family dwelling. If the dwelling is on one foundation, an agreement shall be made on how maintenance and repairs shall be handled by the parties involved in a copy attached to the permit application. If it is 2 separate structures, subsection A above will need to be met, and it shall be recorded on the deed that if the dwellings are subdivided off, each unit will be required to have its own septic system before it is subdivided, and non-residential outbuildings must follow state codes. There are 3 families on this property now, and the homeowner indicated he had plans to build another house. Info submitted by Connie Nichols, 3983 Michigan Road, Plymouth, Indiana, 46563. That is all I have for that packet.
Okay, do I have a motion to close public hearing?
I make a motion to close public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to close public hearing. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Public hearing is now closed.
I guess I don't see the need to table this. I'm ready to make a motion to deny.
To deny it?
Yeah, I mean, there's clearly, they're renting out, leasing out 2 units and living in the 3rd unit on the property. You can't have that going on all over the county. I mean, you let him do it, why wouldn't we let everybody else do it?
I agree. I second his motion.
Okay. Motion made and seconded, so Lori?
Who was the second on that one, please?
Dave was the second.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Hostetler?
Yes?
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Gustafson?
Yes. You'll have to get with Ty and he'll tell you what you have to do to get it straightened out. Okay. Okay, 4th case, 24 BZA 20, Midwest Farm and Pet. Guys, have a seat. State your name and addresses for the record.
Dennis Miller, 375 East 4th Road, Bremen, Indiana.
Okay, and you, sir?
Gene Burkholder, 438 6th Road, Bourbon, Indiana.
Okay. You get them all? Okay, Ty?
The applicant is seeking permission for a warehouse for seed storage and packaging. Here's the subject property at the intersection of Elm. And then here's a site plan as shown at the intersection of Elm and 6 for what they're wanting to do for an 80 by 160 with a 24 by 40 office, septic off to the side, and then potential retention towards the intersection. For the procedure, the Board of Zoning Appeals reviews and makes the final decision on this case based upon the findings of fact as defined in state statute. For the analysis, the applicant is seeking the approval of the special use for the establishment of a business in order to store and package seed. The business falls roughly in line with wholesale trade uses that are identified as special uses in the A1 agricultural district. The property lines at the intersection of Elm and 6th Roads that are 1 mile either direction to State Road 331 or Fur Road. The proposed business would be housed within an 80 by 160 building. with dual drive access off of 6th Road. There would be a 34 by 40 foot office on the north side of the building. The initial location for septic is west of the building, and retention space as needed would be towards the intersection. The business would have 2 total employees, one in the office and the other in the warehouse. The findings of fact include public health, safety, and general welfare, development standards, ordinance intent, comprehensive plan, and other considerations. For finding number 1, the approval of this project will be proportional to the amount of business that the business generates, coupled with anticipated routes of travel for traffic generates by business. Therefore, there may be impacts to the public health, safety, and general welfare. For finding number 2, there are no specific development standards for warehousing in the A1 district. For finding number 3, the intent of the zoning ordinance is to permit agricultural and agricultural adjacent uses within the A1 zoning district, provided that certain uses fit into their context. For finding number 4, the comprehensive plan supports ag business in the A1 zoning district, provided that it fits into the surrounding land use pattern. For other considerations, you have topography. Property is not topographically significant. The zoning of the site and surrounding properties are A1 agricultural. Driveway locations, there will be 2 new drives off of 6th Road. Parking is shown in the site plan and should be sufficient for parking. Landscaping and screening, there's no landscaping or buffering shown within the proposed plan. Open space is not applicable. Noise production operations are expected to be mostly found during the September through June timeframe, with an anticipated reduction in operations during the June through October months. Business hours were not included within the information provided. There were no additional considerations at that time. Placement and design of lights were not included in the plan. Traffic generation has been calculated at this time, has not been calculated at this time, and would be proportional to the amount of seed that is expected to be stored and handled on site, which will have a correlation to the height of the building. General site layout as it relates to this site, to its surroundings, can be referenced in the site plan. So for recommendation based on the information provided and reviewed by the Technical Review Committee, staff and TRC would recommend approval of the proposal pending comments from the neighbors. Now it is up for board determination.
Anything you'd like to add?
Basically, I mean, we're open for questions from you guys. Volume-wise, starting out, it's going to be real low volume. It's mainly going to be
Corn seed?
corn seed, soybean seed, some clover seed. So basically, this is going to come in the fall, and then there's some corn that Scott Sheets is raising for us that would also be going into there. And it's all going to be in pro boxes, like the seed boxes. And then we would store it there until it gets bagged in the spring. And then right now, we're looking at approximately 12 semi-loads of beans and about 4 semi-loads of corn, and then some clover seed and stuff like that. Probably a semi-load of clover seed.
So you're going to treat the seed too, or just rebag it?
Now we're getting it in treated. We're not putting in a treatment at this time. We'd just be basically bagging it and then
So you're just taking out of totes and putting it in like 50-pound
taking it out
bags?
of pro totes and putting it into bags there, and then storing it there till it moves out March, April timeframe.
Oh.
So. And then some of the other corn that Scott will be raising, he'll keep at his facility till we're ready to bag it, and then he'd just bring it over. He's about 3-4 miles, so he'd just bring it over as we're ready to. Scott Sheets.
How is he going to transport that, semi or?
Yeah, semi.
So none of it's in bulk, it's all in totes?
Mainly the seed we're getting is in pro totes, yeah. Would be like van trailers or whatever.
But the seed Scott is transporting, is that in bulk? Or that-
He's actually going to be, he's raising some corn that we use for its deer corn is what it is. So he'll be bringing that deer corn over in
In
probably a bulk.
Dumper truck?
Yeah, probably a bulk form.
So you represent Midwest, you are Midwest Farm and Fleet Group.
Correct.
And then you guys, how long have you owned this, just curiously, owned the property?
2 years. I don't know when we bought it.
Bought with the intent to do this? or
Did not.
farm, Or?
Didn't buy it with this intent. We just bought it, had an opportunity to buy it, and
I get, because normally, you're an adjacent homeowner, trying to start this business, this is kind of being out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
So you live in the house then?
do not. We live I live on 6th Road, just down, just off the county line a half mile.
So the people who live in this house have nothing to do with the business that potentially is going to be there?
Correct, do not. The neighbor to the west does not.
Hmm.
And you currently lease the farm to be farmed to somebody?
Cash rent, yeah.
Cash rent.
Like just ag,
And the plan would be to, after the improvements there is, any that left over, you're still gonna cash rent to the same?
correct, would still be cash rent, could be corn, beans, hay, probably one of those three.
So it's just a warehouse? There's no office, there's no
There's
bathroom?
an office in the front, so
It shows it on the drawing.
they're gonna be co-oping the employees, so like, our corn comes in November, December is when like our seed corn would start showing up. Beans would come in December timeframe. And then we would just store them and then bag them as we need, get started in bagging, that we were ready for the spring. And then in the months from June to September anyway, as of right now, there would not be, unless there'd be some clover showing up maybe in September. But our seed would all leave in the spring and then just come back in but we would be shipping out in the spring.
So why were you, this seems odd, it's backwards that you would take it from totes and put it in bags. It's because it's something special for deer?
Well, it's food plots, it's food plot seed. So we're getting it treated, blended and treated. So it's like our beans have 4 different varieties of beans.
So you mix all the corn, beans, and clover all together and make?
Well, on some of our mixes, but like our beans,
Okay.
we've got a company that's blending the 4 different kinds of beans, and then they put it in pro-totes, and then that's how they ship
All
it.
right.
So,
I couldn't understand why-
Food plot guy needs like one bag. He
Yeah,
doesn't need a
I
prototype.
couldn't understand why it was, everybody wants to go bigger, why would you go
Right.
smaller? It didn't, that was kind of confusing me.
He's a different market.
We're doing it, yeah, it's geared all towards the food plot industry mainly.
Gotcha.
There's farmers using our corn, a fair amount, like that's the corn that Scott is planting for us now. It's a high oil, high fat corn. It's a non-GMO corn, so
Grows antlers in.
it's supposed to. We need Mother Nature to help us.
All right. All right, I'm getting a better idea. Anybody else got questions?
Motion up public hearing?
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded to open public hearing. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Public hearing is now open. Anybody here to speak in favor of his request? Anybody here to speak against? Come on up. You would have a seat at that table and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Dave Rader. I live at 6540 Elm Road, which is about a half mile south of where this proposal is, okay? Several of my concerns are, one is drainage. This is a very wet, susceptible to flooding area. The difficulty with it is the water has to be drained to Dossman Ditch. And that's a half mile south, and there is an existing tile that goes from that area that was put in back in the 70s. But it is also overloaded because there's been a school and 2 residents put in that are contributing additional water supply to that. So it requires it. It can go east, but it has to go through the Smith property over to the Hawley property and then down to the Dossman Ditch that way, which is actually more than a half mile. It could go west, but that's got drainage problems already, and that's down there, at least a third of a mile to an open ditch that doesn't have a lot of fall to carry. So drainage is a real concern. It's already wet. I have pictures, but I didn't provide them to where you could see them, of just this week of how water stood in there, and there's still water standing in places in where they're proposing to put this warehouse. I had a question about employees, but you're saying 2?
Yeah, just talk to us and we'll ask.
I'm sorry,
Just
2.
talk to us.
Sorry, 2 employees. Hours of operation, I wanted to know what, are they gonna be, when they're filling these totes and stuff, is that gonna be beyond, what would be considered typical hours?
Sounds like they're gonna do it all inside, doesn't it?
It would appear, but
Yeah.
everything has to come and go from there. I assume that they'll power this warehouse with generator. They will not utilize public utilities. I'm assuming that needs to be clarified.
Does that make a difference, or?
Well,
What's-
I have several generators in my neighborhood, and obviously, they're not, there's fumes that come off of them, and there's noise generated by them. And I would be concerned for that house that's really adjacent to it. I would hope that they're putting in adequate drives to support semis and the traffic that weight would carry, because it gets to be a habit to load and unload on the road, when conditions allow it.
Can you go back to show the site plan? Go ahead, Dave.
Some other things we have a school within a half mile. There's a lot of traffic of bicycles and bikes, during those 9 months of the year. A little concerned about rodents. You bring in seed and feed, you'll probably increase the rodent population in the neighborhood. The thing that constantly I see is we have places that a warehouse belongs in our communities. It has the structure of the streets, it has the water, it has the fire protection, and the roads, so forth, to carry those kind of loads. And I would sure think that some of this can be done where it's in our communities that are set up and have the structure to handle warehousing. That's what I have wrote down. I thank you.
What if he was a farmer and he just built a building that size? Well, how would that be different as far as the water and drainage?
Well, first of all, I don't know if he could get enough drainage that he could ever have a floor that wouldn't flood. And you say just a farmer, but I can't imagine the traffic that he's talking about, 12 semis bringing in. And this, I think we're being a little bit misled. This is not for agriculture, seed and feed. Granted, they're agriculture products, but I think they're being produced for another purpose.
Okay.
It appears.
And the only reason I'm asking the question, I'm just trying to.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what you're getting at, so.
It's interesting that they've come and they're isolating away from their own residents and their own connection. Well, if we're gonna do that, let's go to the community that already has a structure to support that, the roads and the drainage and so forth. Instead, they bring it to a neighborhood where they're not living, they're not close to.
Just writing some stuff down. Okay, anything else, Dave?
No, I mean, it's part of the change I've seen. I've lived there since 1971, right in that location, so. Thank you for listening.
No problem, no problem.
you.
Anybody else to speak against? Come on up. You would state your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Dennis Garrett, address 4119 East 6th Road, Bremen, Indiana.
You can have a seat if you'd like.
I'm the property owner to the west.
You're the house that's right
I
next door?
am.
Okay.
And the main reason I don't want to see this building and this business placed there is because of the traffic. And I don't want to look out my window and see a great big warehouse sitting there. I moved to the country for open fields and quiet and peace, and I'm retired there now, and I'd like to live my days being able to look out across the fields and not see a great big warehouse there.
Anything else?
No.
All right, thank you. Anybody else to speak against? You would state your name and address for the record, please?
Jerry Dendy, 4776 East 6 Road.
And where was that from this?
That's just west, about 3/4 of a mile.
3/4 of a mile? Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I think it's a shame that they're coming into our area and bringing all this warehouse for deer and going to interrupt us with, the roads are busy, got schools and everything, and they're going to come in there just so they can build for deer. It's a low area. That road floods all the time we get any kind of rain there. And on down east of there, it floods. I mean, we didn't move to the country to have a warehouse right there in our area.
Okay.
And the stuff they're using on that, is it going to be chemical safe? We all got wells. I mean, that stuff's going to run off when it rains. Is it going to go in the ditch and go down in our wells and hurt our water or what? We don't know. They've got plenty of places they can put a warehouse where there's already a bunch of traffic. They own enough land, they could put it back there by 6th and County Line Road. But they choose to put it in an area. And I went around and asked a bunch of neighbors what they thought of it. And I haven't found one neighbor that agrees with them. And I'm talking Amish too. But they won't come and say anything about it.
Okay. Anything else?
That's about it.
All right, thank you. Anybody else to speak against?
Oh, hey, it's me again. Connie Nichols, 3983 Michigan Road, Plymouth. And you're probably wondering, well, what in the heck does she have to do with the property clear over there in Bremen? It's my childhood playground. I grew up on 7th and Elm, just a mile south of this proposed commercial development, call it, because from what I'm hearing, they're planning on putting a commercial development on an agricultural piece of land. Environmental concerns, I don't even think have been addressed yet. Not to mention I used to play in that creek that they were talking about and catch crawdads in there and everything. The way it's changed over the year with the amount of usage that it's getting, if it keeps getting overburdened and the washout and the erosion, and you're losing your ditch banks off that creek and everything. If you've ever watched a creek that is being overburdened and how it washes out and erodes soil away, this is a huge environmental change that will take place because of this building. Not to mention, like he said, generators making all that noise. I could not imagine. My Aunt Wilma and Uncle Carl used to live in the house west, which that gentleman there that just spoke lives in now. And we used to go there, and everything would flood and then freeze in the winter, and we'd skate on their ponds because it couldn't handle all the drainage and everything. But they're turning over in their graves thinking about what's happening to this property.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else to speak against? Come on up.
I'm Randy Hawley. I live at 6376 State Road 331, which is just to the east up on 331. But I've been farming this property for quite a while, and I want to echo what Dave has said. It is a wet property. And my son owns property between me and this property on 6th Road. And the tile that Dave was talking about going to the west is already full to capacity. And the tile where they want to put this building, there's a tile that drains where Dennis, behind Dennis's farm, or Dennis's house, and it's gonna have to be relocated or put in a whole bigger tile, because it ain't gonna hold the water. I can tell you that.
Okay.
And we don't like all the traffic. It's hard enough getting up and down Sixth Road the way it is. If we get more traffic, it's just gonna be a mess, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Thanks, sir. Anything
But
else?
June Smith lives the first property to the east, and she told me her regrets. She don't want all the water either. So,
Who sold them the property? Do you know? Did she or?
no, Dennis Garrett owned the whole thing, and then it got split. And that's how they in Midwest, but it'll probably turn into
The
a.
guy that owns the house to the west owned all of it at one
Yeah.
time. Then he sold it.
And he wanted to sell it, so he sold it for public auction. That's how it got split. But Brian Burkholder still owns the other part of it that I'm farming. And if that tile gets messed up, we're done.
Okay.
Just about that simple,
Okay.
okay?
Thanks, sir.
Uh-huh.
Anybody else to speak against? No? Correspondence?
Yes, sir. I have 3 letters from Ms. Smith. I'll start with the oldest one and kind of work my way through. And then I got a couple more. Marsh County,
3 from Ms. Smith?
yes,
Okay.
which is the neighbor to the east,
east.
across the road.
Okay.
Marsh County Board of Zoning Appeals, I am against the 24 BZA-20 Midwest Farm and Pet request for a special use to allow an 80 by 160 warehouse for seed storage and packaging located at 41196th Road, Bremen, Indiana, German Township, Zone A1. Too much water and traffic problem for that location. Sincerely, Evelyn June Smith. Letter number 2. Marsh County Board of Zoning Appeals, I'm requesting that the property located at 4119 6th Road, Bremen, Indiana, German Township, Zone A1, not be allowed to build an 80 by 160 warehouse for seed storage and packaging. This area has a water drainage problem. A large building like this has a large roof area for the rainwater to come down faster, to flood even quicker than normal. The rule is not to build a commercial building on agricultural grounds to protect the farmer. Just now, 1.5 mile east on 6th Road, water is in the field. Often they close the road because of the high water. I believe rules are for all people, regardless of where or how they go to church. This is also a school area where children ride their bikes to school, and I don't want anything to happen to them. Thanks for understanding. Sincerely, Evelyn June Smith. P.S. There's a big pond of water in Jerry Smith's field at 5909 Elm Road, right beside of this property now. And then another letter, Marshall County Board of Zoning Appeals. I'm requesting that the property located at 41196th Road, Bremen, Indiana, German Township, Zoned A1, not be allowed to build an 80 by 160 warehouse for seed storage and packaging. This area has a water drainage problem. A large building like this has a larger roof area for the rainwater to come down faster, to flood even quicker than normal. The rule is not to build a commercial building on agricultural grounds to protect the farmer. Just now, 1.5 mile east on 6th Road, water crosses the road, even crosses the road at times. I believe the rules are for all people regardless of where or how they go to church. This is even in a school area where the Amish children ride their bikes to school. I don't want anything to happen to them. Thanks for understanding, Evelyn June Smith. P.S. There is a big water pond in the field at 5909 Elm Road, right beside where they are asking to build. Help us, please. Thanks. And then I got one more. Marsh County Board, or Marsh County Zoning Board, I oppose the building of warehouse on 4119 6th Road, Bremen, Indiana, Stephen Smith. And that is all I have.
Motion to close.
Make a motion to close public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made second to close public hearing. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Public hearing is now closed. Can you pull up this on GIS? Is there any floodplain in this?
We have Beacon up. Let me pull that up currently.
While he's doing that, maybe you can answer some of the questions.
Yeah, wetlands.
So why this parcel instead of over where your business is as far as the warehouse? That's one of the questions.
So the reason we're going out here is Real World would actually be buying the company that owns the seed or whatever. It's a different, we're involved in it, but it's got its own ownership structure, and this was a parcel that we could easily sell to that ownership structure. So if it
Take you
goes,
two know each other.
Yeah, I know Gene.
this is just north of Matt there.
Yeah. I don't understand. Explain that.
So we're gonna split it off, and it's gonna stand on its own. If we put it on one of our ground, like there's other owners involved in this, in the seed side.
I got you.
Follow what I'm saying? So we didn't want a warehouse by us that we couldn't split off that they owned. It would have to have been on our personal.
So it'll be-
They don't want it by them either.
Do what?
They don't want it by
No,
them either.
we have our own warehouses, but if we had it on our property that he's talking about is in our individual names. Follow what I'm saying?
Is it,
So this is a separate business
This is a separate
unit.
entity that we own part of. It's got other owners as well, that it wouldn't have worked to put their building on my personal, does that make sense?
So-
It's its own,
I mean, I think
entity.
you could set up a lease structure probably with the other entity or whatever.
because you're the lowest area, I mean, to the west of you, it's 814, you're down in the 806s, and that's the lowest, well, there's an 802 across the street.
That's where the regulated drain comes in. It actually comes from about 800 on your right, 802. If you turn that, I mean, you can turn that layer on, there's a
Can you turn on the,
regulated.
You're not going to see it on there. That's just this PowerPoint slide. There's a county tile that runs through what's actually a wetland there at that wet spot at 802 northeast of Elm and
Goes
6.
right up to about that driveway.
Right, and then it runs east to the property about halfway through the next 80-acre piece, and then it runs straight down to the ditch. The floodplain is only within a relative distance of the ditch itself, so you'd only be going a couple contours outside of the ditch where it makes that turn in the bottom right-hand corner of the picture.
so what's the floodplain, 804?
I don't have the elevation for what that floodplain is at that spot.
because there's a giant
We can't
sand
see
hill.
it.
But it does not go into the Smith field.
What did TRC say on this?
It was a recommendation of approval pending
Neighbors?
the neighbor's input.
Okay.
Like there's no,
I thought tonight was gonna be an easy night, so everything looked pretty good until we got here, so.
Floodplain's on the ditch to the south.
yeah, the floodplain does not go
So
much
there's
further than the
regulated drain
ditch
comes up.
within that area.
He's 806, I guess 806 does come
Well, he'll
along.
drain this way. He'll drain off of here up to here, and then through that regulated drain that comes along here. And then it basically goes just past this road and goes due south down to the ditch.
So another question was on seed treatment. Are you treating seed at this warehouse?
Or not,
So-
not at the moment. Not saying that we wouldn't eventually, but we aren't at.
So you're buying seed that's already been treated?
Correct.
That's the ditch, the yellow dashed line.
And then the other question that was addressed is generators.
Yeah, 'cause that
We're not
looks- that
gonna
looks
be
like a
using
pond,
generators.
or at least.
Oh,
it's real
generator.
wet. Real wet, because of the elevation's 802.
And
How
if
wet
it's,
is it there? You guys sit there and look me in the face, tell me how wet it is.
There's a big sand hill that Randy Hawley can't raise crops on. I never see that flooded.
it's behind, like
Yeah,
it's
the sand hill, you can
behind
see.
See the 812, so that must be where the
Yeah,
sand is.
Yeah.
there's a giant sand hill on that.
But you don't own that.
But-
We own part of that.
You own the other side of
No,
this
we
guy's
own
house?
back.
Just the parcel's highlighted there, the blue.
only the highlighted blue section is what's
Just
owned.
the score, the
Yeah,
rectangle.
10
This
acres
back
or-
here is not.
Yeah.
The L-shaped parcel is owned by Burkholder.
But as far as the wetness, I mean, if that's something we can help with in the excavating, we'd be working with Ty on the drainage and follow, you know, if
You
there,
got, you got the building and you got the parking lot that's gonna be impervious, right?
Correct.
Was there a drainage plan, or how does that? Have you not got to that yet?
That's after this.
Yeah, we would work with Ty on that and make sure it's taken care of.
Does the comprehensive plan, where warehousing fit in the comprehensive plan for this zoning district?
The warehousing, no. Agricultural businesses are supported within it. It's just got to be in relationship to how big is it going to be and what's the context it's going to sit in. We had the highway superintendent, Jason Peters, at the TRC meeting and providing input on the location as well.
We also talked to the commissioner on the project as far as commercial, and it was within 2 employees, and he didn't say anything against it.
But you're just gonna start this, build it, and then sell it, right? I mean, that's what you're planning on doing.
They're gonna work to have the seed and do that project in there.
So once you sell it, it's not your problem.
No. I think the question Matt asked me is why we wouldn't do it on our property. So we own this entity with multiple owners. So if I do it on my personal that's why we decided we'd do it there. That way we could sell that property and it would be its own. The ownership structure of the group would own the 10 acres in the building.
People that know most about drainage are farmers. We just had a bunch of them sit here and said, this is bad. I didn't see it being a problem when I got stuff right. I went out and looked at it, so.
Well, if we can help improve it, I don't think they'd have a problem with that either.
So what's the long-term plan for this entity that's doing the seed at this location?
Basically, would just be to continue to bring in seed, package, and ship.
What's the ground like underneath the topsoil? I mean, you say there's a sand knob in the back. What's that, the area there where you're at?
The front is a little, like your heavier ground, but obviously we're gonna strip the topsoil and build it up. It's not gonna.
Use it with material that on the site to use a
They did talk
retention
about,
pond, or?
they did talk about using the sand hill in the back, taking some of that and using it for the building. But we just have to check all our options and go with what's best.
And again, I know it really wasn't maybe talked about, it was stated in your proposal, no retail.
Yeah, it's no retail. It's not open to the public, or.
So will trucks in, will semi-trailers in with the corn? Is it gonna go out the same way, or is it gonna be smaller?
Smaller quantities, probably, obviously.
Because you're selling this to.
Pallets, so we do some full truckloads going out, and then some might be 4 pallets at a time, you know what I mean? So there would be some smaller quantities.
Well, who is the typical customer?
This would be leaving to go to dealers
Okay.
predominantly. Like, they have dealers, we would be servicing Indiana, Michigan, Ohio type dealers where it would leave and it would go to their places of business.
So we're not talking like a Tractor Supply or
No.
Farm King?
It's independent dealers.
Okay.
So your retail store would probably get bags of this to sell at your retail place?
Correct.
But, so you have a real.
Yeah, Midwest Farm and Pet.
Have we granted that here, or was?
Well, they've been in here for additions and buildings and stuff in the past. Just
I've been
probably
400
2
years ago.
years ago, we did across the road from our current one, we did 80 by 100 warehouse.
Yeah.
Um,
It's on the eastern side of the county.
I might have to make a trip over there and look at these stuff.
It's a big operation.
I think I caught some heck for that one there, if I remember, because you built across the street, wasn't it, from where you were now, or?
Yeah.
Was that the one I'm
Yeah,
thinking?
that's exactly the one.
Yep. I'm gonna say I'm not ready to approve this tonight, because I want to see what's going on with it, so. I know you guys don't like table stuff, but I'm probably not gonna vote in favor of it until I see what the drainage issue is, so. But if you guys want to make a motion, if there's 3 of you to pass it, that's up to you, so. I'm a little concerned about
I'd have felt a lot better if he was living in the house next to it, so.
Yeah, and if he had a drainage plan, he
Yeah.
showed us how big his retention area is gonna be, if it's gonna overflow.
Well, I asked Ty, and he said to just hold off until we go through this. We're not trying to skimp out on any
Right.
drainage. We want to do it correctly.
Well, if we approve this and it causes more problems, it's gonna be on us, so.
Right,
We wanna
no.
make sure we get it right.
I understand. If we have to run,
Work, so I know how critical it is to do it.
I don't think
so.
they'd be opposed to, if it's needed, if it's decided that they would have to run a new, let's say, a 12-inch. I don't think you'd,
I don't know how far, what all we got that would
You have to
entail.
go across other people's properties to
well,
get
right,
to it.
it'd
so
have to be worked out, but I'm just saying.
The public hearing's closed, well,
So have you looked at, going into Bremen and finding a building? I kind of quickly checked LoopNet, and there's nothing, there's 5,000 square feet here behind the USDA you could rent for $6 a year, square foot per year.
So this is, I live about 3 miles from here, and I'll be one of the people that's in it. So that was another reason we chose, that way I could mode of transportation for me to get there. I'm probably going to be working more out there than I am going to be working at Midwest.
so what's the address of where your business is now?
535 5B Road. It'd be probably 4 miles.
Is there any interest in tabling this so he can do his venture out and take a closer look?
I guess there's some interest. One thing I would state is I think I would ask you to consider before you came back to is what the use. You're saying the use is, I could see how this is quasi-ag related, okay? But let's say we do this and a year from now, this entity goes away, doesn't work, and now you've got an empty building that hey, if it sells to a farmer for storage, fine, but something to prevent you from storing, not that would be of great interest, but somebody that wants to store, toilets, or something like that, some non-ag related, because that's the intent behind this ordinance, this support that we have in our comp plan, is that, we allow these type of uses in ag areas, but they're really there to support the ag industry. A seed dealer who's selling seed right out, to farmers right there, that's kind of the reason. If you're shipping it to Ohio, Michigan, and Indiana, be closer to, US 6, a major highway that's supportive of, that kind of thing. So think about that, I guess,
Well, then, let's say the guy that sold all this land kept it, he still farmed, and he wanted to build this exact same size building, puts this exact same parking lot in, he could go get a permit and put it in, and wouldn't even be an issue, and the drainage, would he have to have a drainage plan, a farmer to do
You'd
it?
still have to have a drainage plan. It's all pending on soils, and we actually pulled a soil report from the USDA. And the main soil where it's located is Whitaker loam, which is a somewhat poorly drained drainage class.
So one of my concern is kind of.
You get over the 8, go ahead, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
We allow, home-based businesses, which is good, but then at some point, the home-based businesses get kind of big, and then we struggle over, do we allow additions, do we allow them to? Here, this is not a home-based business, we're just putting a warehouse out in the middle of nowhere. That's not a home-based business. I guess that's what I struggle with a little bit.
And I'm also struggling with the fact there's no real, I guess I'm saying the same thing, I didn't mean to be, but there's no real reason it has to be there. There's not.
Right, that's the thing with a home-based business,
Yeah.
there's a reason for the business to be there.
Yeah,
The
I guess
person
I am
lives
saying the same thing, but
Yeah.
so I'm struggling with it a little bit too.
I'm more concerned about the drainage issue with it. Like I said, when the farmers come around, I know how it is when there's a drainage issue, and, the farmers are the ones that know the most about it.
Drainage issue, really, they're gonna come back, they're gonna hire a civil engineer, and they're gonna find an exit point. That property's draining somewhere now, and they're gonna put a retention pond in, it's gonna be sized appropriately, that's gonna throttle any rain that's, not gonna leave the property any faster than it already does. In fact, they've said to the state, hey, maybe we can actually work with the engineer to improve that. So,
Yeah, as long as it's done, but there's nothing shown in here that's really
Right.
done, is what I'm saying.
but they gotta do that to get a
And I know
permit.
Ty that said no, hold off on it, so.
I'm more about the land use than I am, we'll get the technical parts right at the permit process, but.
No, it's not a real big stretch to say it's still agricultural based.
No.
Ag seed.
That's the struggle, yeah, we're struggling with shucks.
I guess I'd like to see his other place and see why he couldn't put it over there. You're familiar with it?
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of buildings there. I'm not sure, I mean, off the top of my head, I wouldn't know if he could or couldn't, but, yeah, his point was it's a separate entity. He wanted to separate it from his other business. And I'm not sure, yeah.
They can't.
I mean, I think there could be a lease structure set up probably between this entity and yourself, I would guess, where you could put it over there.
Do you have?
Have
any
you-
more
have you thought
road
about that?
frontage? Road frontage, I'm not sure that you would have.
I wouldn't have a lot of road frontage, not where we're at now, not on 5B.
I would've went out and looked at this if I knew this was gonna be an issue at all, so.
But the other thing he had is current business,
It's full?
Well, there's a lot of business, building there, there's a lot of activity there. So, we talk about home-based business and we have these mini industrial parks all over, which,
Oh, it's like-
that's what they grow into, I'm not.
What's the one we
just
did
the
on
way
that,
it
is it Beach Road? I don't,
Yeah, beach with,
Mullet?
mullet.
I mean, that's gotten huge.
That's an industrial
Some of
park,
Eddie
too.
Ray's stuff
That's
has
just-
gotten huge.
Yeah,
That's basically commercial at this point.
well, that's what we run into.
If we deny this, you can't come back for a year, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if we table it so we could have more thought, well, at least you could come back next month. So it's really a pretty serious decision.
The problem with tabling is
Or any fact,
everyone that wrote letters and came out, now they have to have
Come
another
again.
evening they have to
Agreed.
give up to come tape to another meeting. I mean, what are we gonna gain by tabling?
nothing. Just more time to decide whether we want to say yea or nay.
Would you wanna see the drainage plan with the table? I mean, with the table,
I'm not gonna vote in favor of it without seeing what they're gonna do with the drainage, so, I mean, if they're, I know Ty told them not to go to that point, but you guys seem to be more on the other, and I guess I'm with you a little bit on that too, so. The guy that is next door to it sold it, he owned the property, he had control of the property, and that's why I'll never sell anything. I'm serious.
Can I say something about that property?
the public
Public's
meeting's
here.
closed.
Let us work through this, see what we're gonna do here, so. So are you thinking of making a motion to deny? Is that what your thought is, or?
I mean, I'm definitely struggling with an
I
approval.
mean, I was concerned tabling the other until we got more information, but I don't have a problem with denying the other one that you brought up, so. Because I think I would have denied it in eventually anyway, but this one here I have less.
I mean, to me, it'd be cut and dried if a person lived there and it was their business. It's a different story. I'm struggling with it a little bit.
You don't have a scaled map of what it's gonna look like with that building there?
This is the.
This is the site plan that we have.
I don't have anything to scale.
When you did your aerial and put
The
the
aerial
blue,
is what I'm looking
put
at.
that blue box, did you measure that
Right there.
box? Is that-
No, it's representative purely, and that is it.
Yeah, 'cause that box looks really
big.
That's a huge box.
Just to give you an idea of what direction it runs.
When an 80-foot wide wood building's a big building. How long is it?
160.
160?
Yeah, it's just on, what, 12,000 square feet?
The building permit's on the table currently. It's waiting for what the BZA elects to do.
And there's a drainage plan with that that's approved.
I've held off on getting a drainage plan because there's no sense in doing a drainage plan if it's denied.
Gotcha.
If it's approved, then we start walking down that road and it's
House
clear.
next to it, what's it have for buildings?
The house next to it,
The one that, the previous owner, what's he got? Looks like there might be a barn or something back there.
just a second, let's pull that property back up.
Like I said, had I known this was gonna be an issue, I would have went out and looked at it, but I didn't.
There's a small detached, what looks like a small detached garage just north of the structure. Then you have the house, then you have a pole building at the rear.
Big one, little one, or?
I can give you dimensions.
Was it a farmstead is what I'm asking, was it? Not really?
I mean, in an old school sense, it's the top of the hill. So when you're going back to settling the property, they're picking out the highest portion of the ground anywhere. So there's some homesteading essence to it, yes. For whatever reason, the property record card's not showing anything. Let's dimension that. Go back to the beacon.
So that goes higher, then the back goes even higher yet. So the building's sitting in a hole.
The
The new building will be.
It sits at the bottom of a plateau or at the bottom of a valley. But it continues to fall off east and southeast as it goes towards the ditch. But the neighbor sits on basically about 8 to 10 foot of ground higher than anything else around it.
Yeah,
The-
'cause he's 816 in this.
For reference, the barn is roughly 46 by 46. Roughly.
Well, you guys,
I'm gonna make a motion, I don't know if we'll get a second or not, but I'm gonna make a motion to deny.
do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and second to deny. Lori?
Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Hostetler?
No.
Mr. Kephart, no, and Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Gustafson?
I'm gonna vote to deny it.
Yes.
3-1.
3-1. It is denied.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
Okay, fifth case, 24 BZA 21, Matthew and Jean Schmucker. State your name and address for the record, please.
Charlie Zerker, Kinnigan Sloat, 102 Heritage Parkway, Napanee.
Hold on just a second. All right, they're leaving. Go ahead. I'm sorry. We couldn't hear over them.
Charlie Zerker with Kinnigan Sloat, 102 Heritage Parkway, Napanee.
Okay, you, sir?
Marlon Burkoler, 68152 County Road 37, Millersburg, Indiana.
Okay. Ty? We can't hear, guys. You got, if you want to talk, you have to go out in the hall. Thanks. Go ahead, Ty.
Alrighty, the applicant is seeking to permit and relocate an adult care facility. Here is a rough site plan showing East County Line on the bottom of the picture, with north being to the right-hand side. And then here's a greater contextual site plan for their project. The procedure for this is the Board of Zoning Appeals reviews and makes the final decision on this case based upon the findings of fact as defined in state statute. For the analysis, the applicant operates Napanee TLC Care Center, which per the application is a nonprofit corporation that provides a simple structured daily work environment for special needs adults in the local Amish community, with much more description to continue on. The TLC Care Center is a division of the Sunshine Workshop. The facility currently operates approximately 1.5 miles away on the Kosciuszko County side of County Line Road. The operation is seeking to relocate the business because the existing facility cannot expand due to physical restraints. Operations began in 2021 and currently have 16 children enrolled, ages 3 to 42, with 13 caregivers. So the whole parcel is highlighted in light blue, but would be subdivided off within that relative space there highlighted.
It's a little square that's not highlighted.
I think it's going to be squared. I think we just
Okay.
had some clicking aspects.
Okay.
For findings, public health, safety, and welfare, use and value, strict application, and necessary hardship, and comprehensive plan are considered. For finding number 1, the approval should not be injurious to the public health, safety, and welfare. For finding number 2, the use and value of adjacent property should not be substantially impacted. And for finding number 3, the strict application would not permit the proposal. And for finding number 4, the strict application of the ordinance would not permit the proposal, but child care and schools are special uses, which are similar to the proposed care center. The granting of the variance would not be contradictory to the comprehensive plan, and based on the information provided and reviewed by the Technical Review Committee, staff and TRC would recommend approval pending neighbor input. Now it is up for board determination.
Anything you would like to add?
Pardon me?
Anything you would like to add?
Sure. Well, we're here on behalf of the Napanee TLC Care Center. Matt and Jean Schmucker own the ground and are willing to sell it to the TLC Care Center. They signed a consent approving the application. And the issue is that the TLC Care Center right now operates like a mile and a half north in Kosciuszko County on County Line Road at the old Barrera Christian Church. And they're not able to expand because there's a cemetery around that current location. And this is a location in the vicinity that they could build a new facility and expand, because they do have a waiting list of at least one person and maybe more on that. They currently have 16, I guess, in their summary they say children, but they're ages from 3 to 42, but they're severely disabled in that they can't go to school. And so the TLC Care Center is a division of the Sunshine Workshop, which provides a work environment for disabled adults who are able to, perform tasks for local businesses. But the particular individuals at the TLC Care Center aren't able to go to school, and so the individuals come to the care center. It's kind of some respite care for their caregivers at home. There's licensed therapists that come in and provide therapy, some basic educational services, meals, and hours of operation Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 3. And there's some traffic that goes in and out because there's a couple vans that transport the individuals to and from the care center, and a few of the employees as well. And Marlon Burkholder's here. He's the chairman of the TLC Care Center. So if there's any other questions that you have that I can't answer, he can answer those. And then the site plan has the layout of the proposed building. There's a future location for a garage if funds are available at a point in the future in which the vans could be parked, and there's the proposed septic location on that site plan.
Are they going to keep the other place too, or completely shut
No,
it down?
they're leasing that from the church.
gotcha.
That church moved into town into Napanee, and then the TLC Care Center moved into that location. And again, it would be a good spot to expand, but they just aren't able to do that based upon the cemetery that's located on that property.
Did you were you the one that filled out the findings of fact?
Yes.
Those are pretty good. I was impressed.
Thanks.
Thought that was done really well.
Thank you.
Yeah, we don't get that very often.
No, I was reading through it. I thought Ty did it at first.
Yeah.
Well, Ty told me I had to do it, so I did.
Well done, Ty.
Well, as I read it, I was pretty impressed with
Well,
it.
thanks.
So, yeah, I had no idea anything like, I mean, we never thought about an Amish having issues with stuff like this. Never heard of it. I thought it was
Very unique.
pretty unique.
Yeah, no,
I
they
thought
do a
that-
good job.
I don't know how you fund it. You said it started out at $880 a month or a day, and now it's $2,500 a day? That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's just funded through the community, and the support of the Amish and the Old Order community that service or that use the facility.
And there's, how many there's in there?
There's 16 now, and there is at least one on the waiting list, and there may be more at this time.
Maybe more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was, I never knew anything like that existed.
What,
It was-
what's actually right across the road from this proposed site? Looks, it's quite a cluster of buildings.
There it is.
Oh, on the other side of County Line Road?
Yeah.
Houses.
That's residential?
Yes.
Sure doesn't look residential.
Yeah, they're my clients. There's a house and some agricultural buildings, but then to the south, there's another, I mean, they're two separate parcels. There's a smaller parcel in there.
Okay.
But it's all residential. But then MJ Finishing then is two parcels to the south.
Is that something that MJ Finishing?
Yeah.
Something we've.
Yeah. You can,
Remember those home-started businesses?
Yeah.
We just talked about this.
Not the one you just referenced, but another one.
Okay.
It's in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
it is the same neighborhood.
Right, yeah, and he's the one who's willing to get this land into the hands of the TLC Care Center.
Then in the bottom pictures, are those chicken houses that you can see?
Over
Oh,
here.
and
Bottom.
yes, I think so.
Yeah.
That's off of Sixth Road, right?
Yeah.
Is that Sixth Road?
Yeah,
Straight
Sixth
to the
Road.
south, yeah.
Yeah.
Do they smell?
When I've been out there, I haven't noticed it, but I don't live out there.
I'm just curious if they smell. I've never been by one during the day. So.
I drive past there a lot. I've actually never smelled those.
There's one going in next to
I
me,
go
so I
through
guess
there-
I'll find out if they smell.
Oh, really? I go through there all the time.
I move we open public hearing.
Okay, anybody else, any questions before we open public hearing?
Second?
Okay, motion made second, open public hearing. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried, public hearing is now open. Anybody here to speak in favor of this request? Anybody here to speak against? Any correspondence?
No correspondence.
Wow.
Wow,
Motion to close.
so moved, yeah, second, sorry.
I'll run a meeting. Motion made and second to close public hearing. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried, public hearing is now closed. Is there any restrictions or anything that
It's a pretty,
drainage plan, that stuff you'll all take care of?
They've actually kind of mapped it out. It looks like they got
this
they
is
got a plan for a
as
retention pond and extension of the.
prepared I've
Yeah,
ever
it was-
seen
it
anymore.
was- yeah.
Kind of hard to argue with their process here.
Yeah,
Hats off to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
that's why he's here so often.
I would say, we've seen him quite a few
Yeah,
times.
this was impressive.
Yeah.
Reading the answers, so.
I move we approve as submitted.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion made second to approve. Lori?
Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Hostetler?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Gustafson?
Yes. Okay, so,
Thank you.
Thank you.
any other business? Aye.
I think we had the
You
two
have
gentlemen come in.
24
he
BZA
didn't show up.
17 for Stephen and Patricia Davis.
Okay, 24 BZA 17, Stephen and Patricia Davis.
I apologize for my tardiness. I was coming from Warsaw
You're
and
fine.
I was delayed.
All right, if you would state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, sir. My name is Joshua Seibert. I'm with BBS Homes, the builder helping Steve and PJ Davis rebuild their house that burned down.
Okay, Ty?
Okay, so the applicant is seeking to reduce the front yard setback from the requirement from 50 foot to 46 foot to allow a proposed wheelchair ramp. Here's a couple drawings for that ramp and addition there. Here is the house, and if I remember correctly, the house caught fire a couple months ago at this point.
It would have been
believe.
more than a couple months ago, but within last year, I believe, yeah.
Yeah. And so they're going through the remodel process and are needing to put in the wheelchair ramp to make it accessible. Here's the drawings for that. Again, some of the renderings. And then there's some of the construction done, but we're working through that currently. So the procedure for this is the Board of Zoning Appeals reviews and makes the final decision on this case based upon the findings of fact as defined in state statute. For the analysis, the applicant is seeking to reduce the front yard setback from 50 foot to 46 foot in order to construct a wheelchair access ramp in order to get in and out of the house. The house is being rebuilt and is using the existing foundation. The porch is approximately 50 foot from the right-of-way line, but due to the contour and distance to the driveway, it is proposed to come off the front of the porch to properly connect with the driveway itself. The findings include public health, safety, and welfare, use and value, and strict application. For finding number 1, the approval of the proposed setback reduction should have no impact on the public health, safety, and general welfare. For finding number 2, the use and value of adjacent property should be minimally impacted. And for finding number 3, the strict application of the ordinance would not permit the proposal but is not entirely self-imposed. And based on the information provided and reviewed by the Technical Review Committee, staff and TRC would recommend approval of the proposed setback reduction and is now up for board determination.
Anything you'd like to add?
Yes, sir. And the last fire, the owners have a daughter that is permanently wheelchair bound. When the fire happened, she couldn't escape and they basically had to pull her out of her wheelchair and drag her off because there was no wheelchair ramp off of the front porch. There's only one place to logically put a front porch so she can make it to the driveway where her car would need to be accessed, and that's right off the front of the pre-existing concrete porch, which crosses that magical line. And so we're simply just wanting that extra footage to build that wheelchair ramp so that she doesn't have to be pulled out of a wheelchair in a future fire. We're pretty confident, along with the inspector, that we're off by 2 feet. We lack 2 feet space, but if my manager who applied put 46 feet to be safe, we wouldn't mind having a few feet more just in case. We're only planning on building a 4-foot wide wheelchair ramp, if that, at the most. The application said 46 feet, but if we could make it 42 feet, that would be great. We're not planning on doing anything besides this wheelchair ramp, so it can be strictly for this wheelchair ramp. Yeah.
So,
and I say that because there's no lines in the road for the setback, like you're measuring from the center of the road. There's no lines in the road, and so it's a little bit of a gray area.
That's why they have surveyors.
yeah.
Yep, yep. And and so the inspector thinks we're 2 feet off. I think we're 2 feet off too. Yep, and so we're asking for 4 feet.
So there's a
Yes, sir.
porch in front and a ramp, the porch on the side and a ramp and going in the back.
So
That what I see on the back and the bottom picture.
the back, which goes right in the grass, is just designed so the daughter can access the backyard. But in the event of a fire or coming from the driveway to the house, they're wanting a wheelchair ramp for the daughter, so she doesn't have to drive through the backyard.
Okay. I'm looking at your pictures here.
Yes, sir.
And it looks like the porch comes around the front, down the side, and then it's a ramp.
Yes, sir.
Then you got another ramp going in front of the house going down.
To the driveway.
Okay. And that ramp can't come from the side of the porch down to the driveway? It's not far enough for the...
Correct.
Okay.
There's
a garage doors over there.
Okay.
correct. There's not enough space.
I'm just asking.
No. I understood. Yeah, there's not enough space.
I'm just making sure there's no other place you...
We wanted to do that, but we couldn't. Yeah.
Anybody else got any questions? Somebody want to make a motion to open public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made second to open public hearing. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Public hearing is now open. Anybody here to speak in favor? Anybody here to speak against? Any correspondence?
No, sir.
Have a motion to close?
So moved again.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Matt made the second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Public hearing is now closed.
So are you asking for the 46 feet, or are you asking for 42 foot? Because your application is
What was
46.
it advertised at?
It was advertised as 46, wasn't it?
It was advertised as 46.
I'm okay with 46. 44 would make me sleep a little bit better at
I
night.
don't think we have the ability
Should
to
have asked
go
for
the other
44
way.
before then.
Yeah.
Oh, except 46 if that's what you guys are willing
That's all we
to do.
can do, either accept or deny 46. We can't.
Then let's do 46. Thank you.
I move we approve.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Motion made by Dave, seconded by Trent to approve. Those in favor, or, I'm sorry, Lori, go ahead.
Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Hostetler?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Gustafson?
Yes. Okay, you're all set.
Thank you, gentlemen. You guys don't get paid enough.
We don't do it for the money. Is there any other business?
No other business. You'll have a meeting in June. It should be a couple cases.
Just a couple? Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
A second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Oh, well, no. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Actually, Javier here,
Okay.
I just think we ought to say something to, like he said, there's 8 bedrooms in here. Property record card says 6 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. I mean, there's some funny stuff going on there.
I think it's all funny.
I don't know, I know we denied that case, but I don't know where it goes from there, I guess.
Any issues will have to be rectified accordingly.
And the only reason that I wanted to table is I wanted to make sure that everything went through there so we could flat out say that, because I think it was going to be a no matter what, because you can't have 3 separate residences on there, so that was, okay. Anything else? We already have voted to adjourn, so
All right.
words in favor, we're adjourned.